What boggles my mind is like why people don't believe it exists. It's like, I mean, there are people alive today who were actively believing that a black person shouldn't drink out of the same water fountain as them. And you don't think systemic racism exists? Those people are still alive, well, teaching their grandchildren and their great-grands the same values. And those children are in power. They are police officers and employers and doctors. And you don't think systemic racism exists. We minorities are not in charge of the systems. And there are racists in charge of the systems. So yes, systemic racism exists. That's logic. And I mean, just to even, I get this conversation, well, those are the extremes. And Dee, you grew up in Cobb County, you haven't experienced a lot of racism. But even right here in Johns Creek, I was talking to my husband about this because he's from Bermuda and doesn't experience this even the way that I do. I had an experience of coming out of Chaba Thai, go there. It's great, favorite Thai restaurant. I had an experience coming out of that restaurant, and there was a group of high school girls sitting at Lovable and talking. And when I stepped out of that restaurant, they got quiet. And I heard scrambling, and I wasn't paying attention. I was on a mission. And as I got by a lovely Range Rover, I heard, pick it. That happens to me a lot in this neighborhood. And I don't assume that every time it happens that it's because I'm black. But I do know that there is an association when you see a black person. You may not think that person's a criminal, but the association, a black person walking by my car, did I lock my car? Those ideas haven't gone anywhere yet. That's why systemic racism is a problem.
Yeah. Dee, I was listening to a podcast not too long ago, and these guys were talking about how it's so easy to make the black man or the black individual the enemy or the bad guy. And they were pointing that systemic racism, that we go there so quickly and so easily. And that was something for me, even as an Asian American, to say, whoa, I do that. And I'm guilty. So even just hearing you share that from your own personal experience reminded me of not only that podcast, but then also, wow, what role have I played in this?
We've got great theology to help us in this, in that we know we're sinful. We know we don't know the depth of our sin. We know there's effects of our minds and our perceptions, and so we shouldn't be surprised, right? And I think we think of racism like you either got it or you don't. You're either infected or you're not. So, who's going to say they're infected or think they're infected? No one. I mean, no one. And that's part of the issue. I mean, we all have these incredible amount of implicit biases that we're just not aware of. There's brilliant books. Blind Spot is a fantastic book to help you understand just how we have these implicit biases that go along. And I think, the idea of becoming more aware, if you're so defensive that you don't think maybe I have any kind of racial biases, you're just going to be stuck. But, I mean, we all have racial biases. We all could say we're racist at some level. We all can own that that's part of who we are. So I'll go first. I'm Danny Werfel, and I am racist, and I'm working on it. And I hope more of you will join me.
Amen. I'm right there with you, brother.